Session 27. Brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum. We begin with the name of God who is most gracious and merciful, and we begin with blessings on Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. Nahmaduhu nasalli ala rasulihil kareem. We continue with our subject riba, and today is the second and final session. In Surah Baqarah, verse 275, it is said, Allazina yakuluna riba la yakumuna illa kama yakumu allazina yatakhabatu shaitanu min al-massi zalika bi'annahum qalu innama al-bayu mislu riba wa alullahu al-bayu wa harama riba wa faman ja'ahu maw'izatun min rabbihi فَأَنْتَهَا فَلَهُ مَا سَلَفَ وَأَمْرُهُ إِلَى اللَّهِ وَمَنْ عَادَ فَأُولَٰئِكَ أَصْحَابُ النَّارِ هُمْ فِيهَا خَالِدُونَ. Those who take riba interest would not be raised on the doomsday, but as one who has been made loopy, mad, by the devil enfolding, gripping him. They would be in this miserable lunatic plight because they believed business dealings are also like riba, interest, that is, there is no difference. Taking interest is also a form of business trading, whereas Allah has declared business as legal in order and declared interest as haram, forbidden. Then he who accepts this instruction order from his Rabb and he refrains what is with him is left to him and his case is with Allah to decide. And he who takes riba interest thereafter, so they are the dwellers of hell. They will stay in it forever. Surah Baqarah verse 279 on this subject. فَإِلَّمْ تَفْعَلُوا فَزَنُوا بِحَرْبٍ مِّنَ اللَّهِ وَرَسُولِهِ وَإِن تُبْتُمْ فَلَكُمْ رُءُوسُ أَمْوَالِكُمْ لَا تَظْلِمُونَ وَلَا تُظْلَمُونَ. 279. And then if you do not give up riba, usury, interest, then you have initiated a war that you can never win. Get prepared to fight Allah and His Prophet, and if you don't demur, show objection on this order, and if you don't demur and show objection on this order, I repeat, and are repentant, seek Allah's forgiveness, so the original amount that you lent is for you. You can have it back. Neither should you commit excess on anyone, nor anyone on you. Surah Rum, Surah 30, verse 39. وَمَا آتَيْتُم مِّن رِّبَا يَرْبُوَ فِي أَمْوَالِ النَّاسِ وَلَا يَرْبُو عِندَ اللَّهِ وَمَا آتَيْتُم مِّن زَكَاةٍ تُرِيدُونَ وَجْهَ اللَّهِ أُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْمُضْعِفُونَ. And if you want to flourish, succeed, assist those who are endeavoring in the way of Allah. It will also enhance all the blessings that you have. And don't be a gala, a fool, for the deals that you make with any type of interest to enhance the wealth of people doesn't actually increase with Allah. Whereas whatever you give in zakah, that is compulsory charity in the way of Allah, and otherwise over and above to earn the pleasure of Allah, such are the people who in the ordinary way skim over all difficulties. They do others and themselves a great power of good, and they are the ones who are repaid many times over. Zakah and Ushr, that is 2.5% given on crops, is no less important than prayers, or the bare minimum, a compulsion by Allah which just purifies all that one has earned honestly. What makes the real difference are the alms over and above zakah, ushr, and don't wriggle out of facing the ground realities. For you and all that you have, everything belongs to Allah. He has the first right over your life and everything that you are given. All loans that originate from the IMF, the World Bank, the developed donor countries, the state banks, and all the banks are at the end of the day actually and finally paid by the masses, the poor, directly or indirectly. Directly by getting various types of loans and leasing, credit cards, etc., and indirectly when the capitalists, entrepreneurs industrialize with loans on interest, that the cost of the production of the goods which has to be paid, and the entire loan with interest and compounded interest is added to the actual cost of the production is added, my apologies, is added to the actual cost of production of the goods which has to be paid. And it has to be paid by the consumers, the general public. As such, all the people of the world are actually working as labor, as tools, instruments to make their own two ends meet and to add to the wealth and to add to the wealth of the bankers, the donor countries, the great grand donors, IMF, the World Bank. As regards the saving accounts holders, what they get is an iota of what is earned from their money by the banks. In fact, they may actually be paying back more as consumers than the interest they may be getting from the saving accounts, bonds, etc. However, they are actually contributing to the exploitation of the masses. The entire Western economic system hinges on interest, and interesting enough, interest is taken as the right of the lender for having set aside his own needs to assist the borrowers. With such psyche and mental and moral makeup, configuration, rational arguments are irrelevant. As such, interest becomes a hotly disputed controversy. Now refer to Muhammad, peace be upon him, and the entire scenario changes because the psyche and orientation of the Muslims is just the reverse. A. Pay zakah, compulsory charity, alms to the poor. B. Assist, bail out, save the neck of all those tangled in monetary troubles. Help them out for the pleasure of Allah and not for any expected returns from them or from any worldly corner. Allah will enhance their wealth, income tenfold right in this world, and it will be agglomerated million times as returns hereafter too. C. Pay charity, alms voluntarily to the needy, the poor, starting from the parents and then the closest relatives, then the servants, the neighbors, expanding outwards. D. Loan money as qarz hasna, that is, if the borrower may choose to return as and when he gets in a position to do so. Otherwise, the loan is taken to be forgiven. It becomes charity, sadqa, khairat, money given in the way of Allah in totality. E. If it's not qarz hasna and the lender and the borrower decide that the loan has to be paid by a certain time, the donor cannot take interest and should be kind and lenient to the borrower in repayment. On the other side, the Prophet, peace be upon him, said, words to the effect that the borrower who having the capacity to pay yet doesn't pay back the loan is the most cursed with Allah. Finally, rather than taking interest, the capitalist, industrialist, entrepreneur should invest on the basis of profit and loss with sufficient checks and balances to thwart, preempt misappropriation. As such, the alternative to riba interest provided by Muhammad, peace be upon him, is investment on the basis of profit and loss. And it isn't utopian, a mere chimera, a wild, impossible idea. As the banking loaning system has been matured with the passage of time to eliminate, prevent bank frauds, misappropriations, and misuses, pilferages, similar systems can be developed, matured to prevent frauds, misappropriations on investments on the basis of sharing the profit and loss. It may be pertinent to highlight that hire purchase schemes are termed as goddamn never, because 90% of the people fail to pay back the loans, borrow more to pay back the installments, and so the process of borrowing remains endless till one dies. So also have the credit and credit card systems flopped in USA. Interest rates had to be lowered constantly to enable the people to pay back, but made little headway. Paying back loans with interest by the masses is fairly easy to understand for a layman. For example, a factory is set up with a loan of 1 crore with 10% interest. The investor has to earn a reasonable profit himself plus return the loan with interest to make the investment industry viable, which would be 1 crore and 10 lakhs, say, after a year. The next year, the amount to be paid would be 1 crore and 21 lakhs. A year later, hence, on 1 crore and 133 lakhs. The original loan and all these interests and compound interests have to be paid by the consumers, the people, as added to the original value, actual cost of production, and the profit for the investor. It may be remembered that the donor retains the right of ownership of his money. The Western economic system structured on interest is in vogue since more than a century. The result is that almost 1/4 of the people of the world are living with insufficient food to eat. The rising prices of oil, inflationary spiral, rising prices of eatables, foods are good enough indicators for a structural change in the economic system. Yet, the class of global elites, which has flourished vertically and increased laterally, would term any such proposals to replace interest with profit and loss sharing as coming from some desperate numbskulls, featherbrains. The misery of the people of the world doesn't appear convincing to the West. If the Muslims put forth some working models based on the rules given by Muhammad with success, the world may get prepared to listen and follow. I repeat, if the Muslims put forth some working models based on the rules given by Muhammad, peace be upon him, with success, the world may get prepared to listen and follow. And there have been some positive, successful efforts in certain Muslim countries. In this regard, let the Muslims work more on it. It is said, nothing succeeds like success. Nothing succeeds like success. Jazakallah.